Imagine this. You're driving home, your mind is somewhere else, and suddenly you brake without even thinking because a car swerves in front of you. Later that night, you sit down and carefully decide whether you should change jobs, weighing salary, happiness, risk, and future plans. Both moments come from the same brain, but they feel completely different. That difference is the heart of Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And in this video, we're going to explore how your mind really works, why you make the choices you make, and how invisible mental shortcuts quietly shape almost every decision in your life, often without you noticing at all. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may never trust your first thought the same way again. Thinking Fast and Slow is built around a simple but powerful idea. The human mind works using two systems of thinking. Kahneman calls them System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, automatic, and effortless. It's always on. It's the part of your mind that recognizes a face, completes the phrase peanut butter and, or feels fear when you hear a loud noise. You don't choose to use System 1. It just happens. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, careful, and effortful. It's the system you use when you solve a math problem, plan a trip, or check whether an argument really makes sense. System 2 feels like work, and because it takes energy, your brain prefers to avoid using it whenever possible. Most of the time, System 1 is in charge. It constantly creates impressions, feelings, and judgments. System 2 usually just goes along with them. It might check things occasionally, but it often accepts what System 1 suggests without much questioning. This arrangement is efficient, and it usually works well, but it also explains why humans make predictable mistakes. The book is really about those mistakes, where they come from, and why smart people are not protected from them. One of the first things Kahneman explains is that System 1 is incredibly good at making quick sense of the world, but it does this by using shortcuts called heuristics. These shortcuts save time and energy, but they also lead to errors. For example, when you're asked whether a person is friendly or dangerous, System 1 quickly looks for simple clues like facial expression or tone of voice. This can be useful, but it can also lead to unfair judgments and stereotypes. A key idea in the book is that what you see is all there is. This means that your mind builds stories using only the information it has right now, and it usually ignores what it doesn't know. System 1 is not good at handling missing information or uncertainty. If it sees a confident speaker, it assumes the speaker knows what they're talking about. If it hears a convincing story, it believes it, even if important facts are missing. System 2 could step in and ask deeper questions, but often it doesn't because it trusts System 1 too much. Kahneman explains that the mind is very sensitive to cognitive ease. When something feels easy to think about, pronounce, read, or remember, we tend to believe it more. Statements written in clear fonts seem more true than those in hard-to-read fonts. Repeated ideas feel more familiar, and familiarity feels like truth. This is one reason why advertising and propaganda work so well. The brain mistakes ease for accuracy. Another major topic in the book is overconfidence. Humans are far more confident in their judgments than they should be. We believe we understand the past better than we actually do, and we think we can predict the future more accurately than is realistic. Kahneman shows that after something happens, we create a neat story explaining why it happened, even if it was mostly luck. This creates the illusion of understanding. We forget how uncertain things really were before the outcome was known. This overconfidence shows up strongly in expert predictions. Whether it's economists, stock market analysts, or political commentators, many experts speak with great confidence, but their predictions are often barely better than random guesses. System 1 loves coherent stories, so it ignores the fact that the world is messy and unpredictable. System 2 could recognize uncertainty, but admitting uncertainty feels uncomfortable, so we avoid it. Kahneman explains how people misunderstand randomness. We expect random events to look smooth and balanced, but real randomness is messy. We see patterns where none exist, and we believe small samples tell us more than they really do. For example, if a basketball player makes several shots in a row, we talk about a hot hand, even though it might just be chance. System 1 jumps to conclusions, and System 2 often fails to correct them. Kahneman spends a lot of time discussing biases, which are systematic errors in thinking. One important bias is the availability heuristic. This means we judge how common or likely something is based on how easily examples come to mind. If you recently heard about a plane crash, flying feels more dangerous, even though driving is statistically riskier. Media coverage makes rare events feel common, and System 1 responds to vivid images, not statistics. Another bias is representativeness. This is when we judge probability based on similarity instead of logic. If someone fits our image of a librarian, we think they're more likely to be a librarian, even if librarians are rare. We ignore base rates, which are the actual frequencies of things in the real world. System 2 knows about base rates, but it often stays quiet while System 1 takes over. Anchoring is another powerful effect discussed in the book. When we're exposed to a number, even an irrelevant one, it influences our judgments. If you're asked whether the population of a city is more or less than a certain number, that number becomes an anchor, and your final estimate moves toward it. This happens even when we know the anchor is random. System 1 grabs on to the first number it sees, and System 2 doesn't adjust enough. The book then shifts towards how we evaluate gains and losses. Kahneman introduces prospect theory, which explains how people actually make choices under risk instead of how traditional economics assumes they do. One key idea is loss aversion. Losses hurt more than gains feel good. Losing $100 feels worse than gaining $100 feels good. Because of this, people are often willing to take risks to avoid losses, but they avoid risks when trying to achieve gains. This leads to many strange behaviors. People hold on to losing investments too long because selling would make the loss feel real. They reject fair deals if they feel they're getting less than someone else. The fear of loss shapes decisions in powerful ways, often more than logic or long-term benefit. Kahneman also explains that people don't evaluate outcomes based on final wealth or total happiness. Instead, they think in terms of changes from a reference point. That reference point might be yesterday's income, an expected outcome, or what someone else has. This means satisfaction is relative, not absolute. A raise can feel disappointing if it's smaller than expected, even if income increases. Another important idea in the book is framing. The way a choice is presented can completely change how people respond to it, even if the actual outcome is the same. If a medical procedure is described as having a 90% survival rate, people react more positively than if it's described as having a 10% death rate. System 1 reacts to the frame, not the underlying facts. System 2 could recognize that both statements mean the same thing, but it often doesn't. The book then explores two versions of the self, the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives in the present moment. It feels pleasure and pain as they happen. The remembering self looks back and tells the story of our life. Surprisingly, these two selves care about different things, and they often disagree. Kahneman explains that when we remember experiences, we don't remember them accurately. Instead, we focus on the peak moments and the ending. This is called the peak-end rule. A painful experience that ends gently can be remembered as less bad than a shorter experience that ends badly, even though the total pain was greater. This means our memories do not reflect our actual experiences over time. Because of this, the remembering self often makes decisions that don't maximize happiness for the experiencing self. We choose vacations, careers, and lifestyles that sound good in stories, even if they don't feel good day to day. We chase memorable moments instead of consistent well-being. The book also discusses happiness and life satisfaction. Kahneman distinguishes between how happy we feel moment to moment and how satisfied we are when we think about our life as a whole. These are not the same thing. Income, for example, has a limited effect on daily emotional happiness beyond a certain point, but it has a stronger effect on how people evaluate their life overall. System 1 experiences emotions, while System 2 constructs life narratives. Throughout the book, Kahneman emphasizes that biases are not flaws of character or intelligence, they are features of how the human mind evolved. System 1 is fast because it had to be. It helped our ancestors survive by reacting quickly to danger. System 2 is slower and more thoughtful, but it's lazy and easily distracted. Understanding this doesn't eliminate biases, but it helps us recognize them. One of the most practical lessons from the book is knowing when to slow down. When decisions are complex, important, or unfamiliar, relying on intuition can be dangerous. In those moments, engaging System 2, using data and considering alternative explanations, can lead to better outcomes. On the other hand, in areas where you have real expertise and fast feedback, intuition can be valuable. Kahneman also talks about the illusion of skill. In some fields like chess or firefighting,